But first, let's get started with the introductions. As I said, Eternal Empire for game number 1 in this best of 5. Let's get into it.
All right, up here in the top right-hand side of the map, as champion, and of course, the IEM Katowice 2018 world champion as well, the generic Green Wings player, it is Rogue.
And to the bottom left, our most recent world champion, it is the Blue Zerg, Dark.
The potential trophy in the trophy case for Dark. It would be massive if he could take this one out. And of course, for Rogue to win a second one, that would be the first time ever that a player has won 2 world IEM Katowice World Championships before. And it's such a hard tournament as well. I mean, winning 2 BlizzCons is something SOS did once, and it was, really epic and huge, but I almost feel like winning 2 Katowices is more difficult. It's such a gauntlet of players over so many days. You've got to maintain form over such a long period.
And and sometimes it is the first tournament of the year, the first really big tournament of a new patch as well, which sometimes favors some people, more than others. We've actually had like a fairly consistent round of 24 and on. But yeah, it can be just a huge mix-up, and instead we just get shown over and over again who is best. So some people are a little bit better. Some people perhaps getting more favorable matchups, like Zest and all his PvPs is once again allowing him to make it forward in this particular IEM. But what is it for Rogue and Dark? Is ZVZ going to be their ticket forward, or unfortunately their ticket out? I mean, Dark just showed us some amazing ZVZ against Solar, knocked him out, even though Solar is no slouch in the matchup.
And it's cool to see, of course, that whoever does get out of this match, if they can make it through the semi-finals, there is, of course, either Zest or Cyril waiting from the upper side of the bracket. But no matter what, I think it is going to be the best Zerg player from Korea spat out of this match. It's really exciting to see where this one goes. And we saw Dark take up the aggressive mantle against Solar for the most part in that series, especially in that back and forth game on Nightshade earlier. But he showed that in the late game, he knew how to play it out really well. He was behind, his Viper micro was on point. And of course, Dark, I really think his movement all game long is what looked most incredible. His ability to run by into mineral lines and just move his army around and constantly threaten without overcommitting, just excellent skill from Dark.
Absolutely. It was really a sight to see watching it back in the green room, actually. But I said I had some tidbits for you guys. They did recently plan an online qualifier a couple months back, but still on these maps on this patch. And it was actually Rogue really starting off the aggression and also being, I guess he preferred to go Mutas faster, and that Dark never went for Aspire himself. And on Eternal Empire, we actually had a really interesting reaction from Dark to go into a Corruptor-based defense. Now, I'm not going to look that far into the future and say it's going to look exactly like that best of 5, but Dark certainly looked good against the offense of Rogue. And we do have a fast evolution chamber here from our Red Zerg going for a fast +1 Carapace. Feels like it's been a while since I've seen this.
Yeah, a bit of a blast from the past. Straight into Baneling Nest with that as well. Not going for the ultimate greed of going straight Roach Warren. That, of course, does lead into some super powerful +1 Carapace Roachling attacks. The Baneling Nest is going to give a little bit of extra defense as time goes on. And right now, I mean, we've seen Dark in these early games just hold down the worker key in that whole series earlier, and he's doing it again. Just rushing up into the 40s of workers. Not going to be punishing the delayed Baneling Nest from Rogue.
As I said, it's feel like it's been a while, but definitely have to talk about that +1 Carapace. You can take an extra shot from a Baneling. I mean, you're left with very, very little HP, so your Lings probably clean everything up, or their Lings rather could, but you do have an extra shot. It also does affect the units you would generally see in a ZVZ, that is Lings, Roaches, and Ravagers, whereas +1 melee, not so much. So we'll see him be perhaps a bit aggressive with the Lings, actually start poking around, kind of a skill check almost with that ZVZ, but then what is his plans with the +1 specifically?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, it is going to be finishing in about, 30 seconds. And there we go, the Lings do start up. So Rogue, of course, going to go for a pressure. If he can force a Ling-on-Ling battle at that moment, it's going to be very nice. But Banelings for Dark coming up, and he's walled off the entrance to the natural, so there's really only one direction he can come in from here. Already one Baneling up, more Banelings on the way, just has to buy time for those to finish.
A little more than a skill check in this regard, but it might look that way for Dark initially, and he's going to be like, whoa, actually, you have +1 Carapace. Starting off okay, some Lings dart into the main base, and of course he's going to try and get those Banelings in the main as well, but Dark, he should be aware that is highly likely to happen, but he's got a lot lot to focus on right now. More Lings coming from Rogue's side of the map, but his Queen so far holding strong.
They're so low, both Queens deep in the red, finally going to get focused down, and ouch! Oh, Baneling's in the main as well. The Queen there, she's trying to focus them down. Good defense in the main base. Remember, Dark was so far ahead on Workers and is managing to hold on in the natural in the main, but the third base is under siege. Lots of Zerglings coming in. Just 40 Workers for Rogue. Dark still has the edge there, but he's trying to get into Roaches, but I think he needs more Banelings right now.
The Rogue is piling on the pressure. He's also going for Roaches behind this, so Dark not only needs to take care of the Lings here and not get surrounded, and also worry about his own opponent's Roaches. That third base is under extreme pressure. The Banelings are coming forward to try and deal with this, but again, they need to have 2 shots to actually clean all this up.
Nice here. The splits on the Zerglings, trying to get rid of them. Rogue would love to take out that third hatchery. The massive Zerglings here was just waiting to come back in, but now more Banelings, more Roaches. Rogue has to disengage. Dark, a beautiful save on the third base. I thought that was doomed, but he hangs on to it.
Oh yeah, that was very, very close. He also, I believe he dipped a little low in the drones, but he's actually back up on it. So despite losing a lot of workers, he is good to go on the economy. As far as production goes, he's been watching the mini-map. He knows that Rogue has been sending Roaches across the map. He got a little supply block, looks like, for a second there, and he's actually starting to drone a little bit. Is this overconfidence, or does he not realize what's being committed?
Has he not been watching his mini-map? I don't know. I feel like this is not a great attack, but the moment drone started up, I thought maybe it is. Obviously looking for the third hatch is Rogue. He's still down in Workers. Lots of Banelings, lots of Roaches coming in. A good split there from Dark, minimizing the Baneling damage and still using his own Zerglings to delay the Lings, but now the Lings come in and a huge wraparound there for Rogue, using a Ravager Cocoon to try to save a low hit point Roach. It gets focused by Dark, but that's not enough.
Oh yeah, what I mean, I very specifically looked at the Overlord placement of Dark and saw that he's been seeing a steady stream of units, but either thinking that it was only Lings and feeling confident against that, or just not realizing that that could still be a very powerful push. He started +1, he started up some drones, and all of that could have been so many more Roaches, a couple of more Banelings. He could have had his units well positioned to not get surrounded as well.
Yeah.
Lings are extra effective. I think he kind of let that one go a little bit.
Imagine just 3 more Banelings morphing behind that, stopping those Lings coming in, right? He had more Roaches. He was able to win the Roach versus Roach. He just needed to slow down Rogue Zerglings coming in. I think you called it there. Dark with a rare moment of inattention. And you know what? When there's been Zerglings running around your bases for the previous 2 minutes straight, it is easy to not glimpse that on the minimap. And somehow misses the Roaches coming across, thinks it's just a bit of a follow-up pressure, when in fact it was a huge attack out of Rogue. There was no lair. There was no extra upgrades. No. It was just Carapace, Zerglings, Banelings, and Roaches. And Rogue had to do more damage to even that one out at the very least. So, hey, a nice build to start things off there for Rogue. And, you know, I really like the opening specifically because he just kind of said, wait a second, I don't need a Baneling now straight away. Dark's playing such defensive economic Zerg versus Zerg today. I can get away with this. And it's also a good choice on Eternal Empire because even if Dark attacks with Ling Bane, 2 Queens on that front ramp, the Lings have to run all the way around from the third base. It just takes a long time to get across that map and get into the main and the natural. So a calculated risk pays off there for Rogue with a very aggressive Game 1 victory.
On one of our larger maps, but now heading into game number 2, we're on our shortest map in the map pool, unless you can wall off that natural, which takes a little while for Zerg. It's game number 2 in the top right, taking that last game when maybe he wasn't supposed to. It is the Red Zerg Rogue.
Definitely would have been close either way, but this man with an uncharacteristic lapse in focus there, not monitoring the minimap at a crucial time, but he's still got 2 lives left in this best of 5. Representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming in the blue, it is Dark.
And this actually starts this series eerily similar to the one they played in December, weirdly enough. We did have some early aggression from Rogue, catch Dark off guard, and while Rogue continued to really be the aggressor, Dark was able to kind of like rebalance and find his footing and do okay. Even on Zen, by the way, which he did go for a Roach wall off in the natural. It can happen eventually, you know, when the creep actually spreads out. But the idea with Zen is that, especially with ZVZ, so focused on Lings, they can actually fit through these mineral patches and utilize how quick you are natural to natural.
And we saw that big attack from Solar earlier today. Big Roach bust was the one map he managed to sneak off Dark. Roach's Banelings, +1 range, of 44 workers. It's one of those ones that, not the fastest or sharpest attack, but one of the ones where it's very surprising because it looks identical to a macro build. We'll have to see what Rogue has in store for us. It is kind of funny, actually, that Zen is the fastest rush distance on the pool with the craziest paths. It's probably the most stressful map for players to actually play on.
Yes.
Despite the nice little ponds with koi fish kind of on the sides of the map and that sort of thing.
It's not Zen at all. This is a really big lie, okay? Like, it's a bamboozle, but it is one of those things where it's a little more stressful, I think, for matchups that depend on those 2 grid space units that can't actually get through the middle. Funnily enough, for ZVZ, yeah, they can actually utilize the middle for quite some time. But as I said, Dark, as you have actually pointed out as well, like Dark was playing more the macro defensive style in his previous series versus Rogue, and you just pointed out that Dark has just been playing that for the tournament, for IEM, and I kind of expect him to do the same because he did not have a terrible position. That last game was not determined from the get-go. He could certainly have made something out of that.
Interestingly, Dark's sling speed started up about 5-6 seconds later than when he had 100 gas, and makes me wonder, but I think it was just a slight little error there. Just slightly late start on that. Gives Rogue a bit of an edge on the Ling speed. If it does become Ling-Bane skirmish, it may affect Dark's ability to kind of get out on the map and stop the Banelings morphing. Quick Baneling nest there for Dark, starting up, doesn't wall off the front. So wanted to get that Baneling nest started very early because the creep had not finished spreading over to the right-hand side. Tells me we might see some aggression out of Dark this game.
Yeah, it's actually Rogue going to go ahead and place it down so that it blocks that avenue into the base, not just for like any early like severe pressure, which both of them not really committing to, but just for later as well. You don't want 8 Lings running by and 2 hiding in the main, but Dark is committing to a decent number of Lings. 16 on the way. Is it a skill check or is it going to be more? We have more being produced.
I think he's looking for a lot of momentum here. I mean, we very well likely will see drones behind this, but already about 20 Zerglings, 2 there, morphing into Banelings on the opposite side of the map. And Rogue here sees them coming out. He's got to make a lot of Zerglings and Banelings. He's got to get all his queens to the front now. He's already making 4 Banelings. A 3rd queen starts. So actually, it's a 4th queen. 3 queens already at the front. Very quick response here from Rogue.
Yeah, I think he might just be fine here. We'll see how the micro goes. Queen certainly can help out. They can target fire down the Banelings so that your Lings don't have to try, but they also can get surrounded, and that's where Rogue's Banelings have to come in.
Good micro. Still got 3 Banes up there, shepherding those queens. The queens, of course, kind of working like snipers in this situation, focusing down the enemy Banelings, and the Banelings are just really the ones that protect them. They just guard their back, make sure the Zerglings can't focus in, and already a perfect defense. I mean, this is not a great map for a Ling Bane pressure because that other path gets shut down. You can see the way Rogue just was able to keep this focused in one tight area, and really just shuts down the pressure, holds, goes back to droning. It's not too bad because Dark didn't throw the units away. He's still got map presence here, and of course the worker count's relatively even. But definitely something where I think he was hoping to catch Rogue being a little bit greedier there.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the case. I mean, he might have been planning this from the get-go. Another reason he didn't wall off his own side of the map, that choke, but it does not work out. Rogue has some excellent micro and certainly enough units. He did get an evolution chamber, I thought, and I was waiting to see that +1, and then the more I saw it not starting, I was like, hold on a second. He is getting a Roach Warren. It's Dark who got the later evolution chamber, but is starting the +1. Is Rogue going to get aggressive once again? We have a couple more overlords, no drones. He already has a high supply max. This has got to be aggression.
The Roach Warren's kind of late for it, though. He would have loved to start those Roaches up already. He's banking a crazy amount of money. He's hoping to just distract with this attack and keep Dark busy. Dark, though, comes in 2 Banelings and says, hey, that's not that many workers.
Yeah.
And already giving signs of the aggression. 15 Roaches start up. Did Dark pay attention? His attention was split between 17 Roaches. This is a ridiculously committed attack.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot to make at once this early on. I think you're right about the Roach Warren being just a little bit late. But that Spinecrawler is on the way. He did just finish up a round of drones, but I think he knows what's happening. Second Spinecrawler not on the way. But is it too much? He's also dedicated to a lair and a +1 missile upgrade. That's a lot taken away from his ability to make Roaches.
If these spines get up, it'll be all worth it. This is a slow attack to get across the map. Roach is very slow. 9 Banelings morphing. I mean, this is a massive amount of units. There's going to be about 8 or 9 Roaches out for Dark, and he's going to have at least 2 Spine Crawlers finished, and the Queen's pulling to the front. Extra Banelings. I love the addition. Those Banelings need to intercept Rogue's Banelings. He's got to stop those Banelings connecting.
He's going to go right for the Spine Crawlers. A couple of them are very close. He also grabs all of the Banelings. A huge concave of Roaches as Dark desperately tries to get his own, but 2 Spine Crawlers up, 1 very injured, a 3rd one on the way. Dark temporarily pulls his drones. Oh, he is going to fully commit with the drones. The Spine Crawler is not helping enough, it looks like, as Rogue starts to topple Dark's army supply.
The Madman, an absolutely insane attack here from Rogue, banking up 1,000 minerals and then building 17 roaches at once, distracting with the Ling Bane pressure, and now he is on top. The last vestiges of Dark's economy. You can see the frustration on his face. The wool is being pulled over his eyes, and we suddenly find that Rogue is up 2 games against the final boss.
It's like, you know, Dark had this amazing series versus Solar where he really showed that any weaknesses we thought he might have, he did not. And then Rogue apparently was just sitting behind stage with his arms crossed, kind of leaning back, going like, yeah, you know, that's cool, I guess. Still pretty good at DPZ.
Oh, he has shown up in such a big way at this tournament. I scoff at myself a week and a half ago saying, oh, you know, Rogue might show up, but he's actually kind of my pick for the player who might actually underperform and disappoint the fans. I said that a week and a half ago. I was so wrong. He is now 1 game away from going to the semifinals. Now, it's been very aggressive, very surprise-oriented, momentum-focused strategies here. And it feels like Dark might have to do something else to put himself in the driver's seat. Might have to find some way. He tried to do it with the Ling Bane pressure in that game, but Rogue just stopped it in its tracks. It really didn't achieve much at all.
It didn't, but I feel like it didn't really take away too much from Dark either. He still was able to get a decent drone count himself. The army supplies look similar, as you said. He kept those alive at the very least to threaten, but just getting a little bit too late. I think not just notice, because I think he did kind of start thinking, like as soon as he saw the drone count, that's when the first spine crawler went down, but more so that his roach warren was already so late. So it's like if the roaches are actually 10 seconds sooner, they're maybe protecting the spine crawlers a little bit better. They actually are more involved with the fight, so on and so forth. But Dark, yeah, he's unable to actually hold against Rogue's aggression.
Those tiny details, isn't it? It all does add up here, unfortunately. And here we go. It is map number 3, looking to close it out with a 3-0. Up here in the top left-hand side of Triton, representing Jinair Green Wings, he is Rogue.
And in the bottom right, our previous world champion, just literally a couple of months ago, guys, about to be knocked out in ZVZ. It is the blue Zerg, Dark.
There's tiny details. The Banelings not being quite finished morphing for Dark in that last hold, potentially crucial. We saw about 12 Banelings crash in from Dark. There were 2 Banelings, for Dark that were finished morphing, about 6 almost done. And Rogue, he took the hit from the first 2, detonated those, and then just took out a spine, took out a bunch of roaches, blew up the morphing Banelings as well. And that really, I think, it just adds this sudden burst damage at the start of the fight that really hurts the defender's ability to hold on. So good Baneling hits there from Rogue, and unfortunately, you know, Dark just a little bit slow on the defensive Banes.
Yeah, that's also another one of those like very small things that's a crucial factor, and I'm sure that's why Dark was extra frustrated by that loss. Not only is he down 0-2, and that sucks, but it was also one of those things where like, man, I almost had enough time, like, and it was just barely not enough. The roaches, the banelings, the spine crawlers, all a couple seconds sooner could have been a big difference. Now this Triton was the map that he actually took that one loss against Rogue in their previous series that I was mentioning. Rogue's aggression, again, just doing very well against him, but it's just that Rogue is also kind of, he's mixing up his aggression, you know? It's not just going to be hatchery-based Roach Ravager attack or just the Lings. I mean, heck, we could see a bit more of a mid-game here, but then he goes for a faster Spire or something. But the point is, he keeps up the momentum.
You know, as Rogue here, looking at Dark's past games, I'd be going into this map with a plan to deal with those Mutalisks, to deal with those upgraded Zerglings, right? And, you know, a Roach Nidus with Queens popping out. Definitely one of those where if you kind of, it's not the greatest build reactively when you kind of spot what's coming at the last minute and you're like, oh, the Spire is already almost finished. But if you're kind of mentally prepared for that from the get-go and looking to almost even blindly commit to that, it can almost feel like a hard counter to the Mutalisk style. So definitely something Rogue might have in his playbook. Of course, many directions a StarCraft game can go. Thousands of different build options that these players have in their arsenal. And it is a nice quick Baneling Nest for Rogue this time around.
Dark has done a couple of skipped Baneling Nests, but no, he is going to go for it here. I do think that is the safer call. A couple more drones for Dark, though, so he's not going to be setting the aggression like last game, which, yeah, did not end up doing very much. And there are certainly a decent amount of ZVZs, I should say, where you actually really don't get even the 10 Ling skill check. They both actually just want to drone up, and that kind of seems to be this game. A couple of Lings now on the way for Dark.
Yeah, just defensive so far for both players by the looks of it. A handful of Zerglings at the ready to morph into the Banelings as needed. Rogue just completely unafraid. Non-stop drones. Evo Chamber goes down in the wall off. And it really feels like Rogue is just one step ahead mentally here where, you know, there is an element of luck, but it's also just the build order choices where Rogue is not having any of his gambles called, right? You know, any of his bluffs being called and the chances that he's taking are not being punished.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. It also just feels like he's so much more confident, you know? Like, I don't think Dark lacks confidence, to be clear, but just his decision-making is working out, and he's the one that's taking a little bit of the gamble. Gamble. And he's actually going for a fast lair as we're speaking of it, so very pertinent for this game. Dark still holding off on it, and also, didn't have a very fast evolution chamber. There we go.
Where is that lair for Dark? That's a confusing choice here. Potentially just wants to hit the drone count a bit harder. A few more Zerglings coming out, so Dark will apply a small amount of pressure. A ridiculous number of drones coming out behind that as well. So it looks like Dark is indeed just playing a big economy game, not really committing in any one direction, and thereby not giving any information to his opponent. Keeping Rogue guessing a little bit may demand a bit more respect simply by holding off on his choices.
I always wonder, okay, so I'm not surprised by the Spire here from Rogue. I was kind of anticipating that. But for Dark, I do always wonder about that, you know, yes, drones are amazing, and sure, you can delay your lair for that, but do you really want to delay your +1 missile? He does a little bit. It is a little bit behind Rogue, but that's not even really the most important part here, because now we got to think about what that Spire can do, especially if it remains unscouted.
Yeah, that is the big question. With the delayed lair, you have a delayed overseer. With that wall off that players are utilizing so well, no one's been able to get in there and scout the Spire. The Baneling there, of course, left on its own. Can take out Lava, can't take out the drones, so just delays some of Dark's production. Dark, he needs the scout, but Rogue, he just keeps shutting it down.
Very good control here. Literally does not letting even a Ling through, even though the wall is open. No, and as I say that, hey, caster curse, thank you.
Oh,
he doesn't actually see it. Oh no, you're okay. Never mind. I was gonna, make sure Dark gave me like a cake or something.
Three Queens just started up in production though. Dark sees the gases on the third.
Yeah.
And I think just seeing no roaches out kind of goes, hey, wait a second. All right. I think I know what I'm up against here. Now the question is it a defensive play? Yeah. Sixth gas goes down. I think we're going to see a fourth base for Dark and just kind of working up to try and hang on. No Nidus Worm and no push out across the map. Interesting here. Dark, I would have expected maybe a Hydra Den or a fourth base or something. Infestation Pit, there we go.
Yeah, but spot on. Like the skill, like even though that one lane didn't get direct scout, everything else still told him what he needed to know, especially considering their history and how prevalent this was and kind of is overall, I guess, in ZVZ. So Dark's on top of it. He did lose a queen there, but with Spore Crawler should be coming down as well. He's not going to take an extreme amount of damage. An Infestation Pit option. So a bit slower.
How many mutas was that? Was that 6?
I believe so.
7, yeah, real small commitment straight into roaches. So there's going to be a fierce roach counterattack coming in from behind this. Now, this is something Dark needs to pick up on. So many players are like in this meta mindset of like, oh no, it's just going to be Ling Bane and Mass Muta. But this is a crazy number of roaches in production. Rogue can hit a really strong +1 timing behind this.
I mean, is this Burrow and Tunneling Claws? It feels like something he wants to get around the mutas for, and not necessarily going to help if roaches suddenly come across the map. So does he have any inkling? He also starts a Pathogen Glands and a Hydralisk Den. This is also, it's not going to help him against a massive amount of roaches right now.
Yeah, this is the trick that Rogue really is going for. He's saying, hey, look, guess what? I'm going mutas, I'm going Zerglings and Banelings, and Dark is building so many spores. He needs like 3 spores at most, no more than that. Queens alone could defend this small number of Mutalisks because it is not being added to. Dark needs to mass produce roaches to survive. It's all about surviving this one big attack. A 40 army supply advantage for Rogue right now. The upgrades are even for quite a while longer. Ravagers morphing, roaches coming across the map. 4 bases against 3. Can Dark hold on?
I'm feeling a little bit scared right now. That's a big army supply difference. Infestors can try and buy some time, but their actual damage with their fungal growth doesn't truly actually matter unless there's a couple of Corrosive Biles as well, which Dark has absolutely none. He's pounced upon in the middle here. He's got Queens not helping out that much.
The Queens dropping some nice transfuses. Drones immediately pull. Dark realizes how dire this situation is. Rogue has completely tricked him non-stop throughout this series, and yet again here in game number 3. Rogue hitting with a surprising attack. Fungal growth coming down, desperately trying to stabilize. Hits the mutas, hits the roaches on the left, but there's just so much here for Rogue.
Oh man, Dark knows that it's over. Rogue just a masterful crafting of the ZVZ. He's gonna 3-0 a guy who just took out everyone won not 3 months ago, who looked amazing in ZVZ against Solar. It does not matter to Rogue because he says, you know what, I win championships, you don't anymore. Rogue with the 3-0 and looking quite content with that. He's like, yeah, that's what I expected.